So this week, Philip asks, how do you maintain healthy relationships while working your ass off every day? Great question, Philip. It's something I think about a lot. So for me, relationships are one of the most important things that you can invest your time into, bar none. It's one of those areas where every bit of energy you put into it now will pay off in spades down the line. There's some sort of relationship multiple, maybe is how I think about it. And you put an ounce of energy into it, you get it times 10 later. You don't necessarily do it for the outcome. You don't look for that outcome, and you don't require that people give something back to you, but it will come back to you later on in the form of strong relationships and introductions and people helping you out down the line, right? And setting that aside, even relationships with your family, with friends, with intimate relationships that you have, I think all of that stuff is important to maintain even as you run a startup or as you start your business. But clearly, if you spend a lot of time working on your company, something has to give in your relationships, right? So the form that they take may change. They may take on a different form. So let me talk about some of the ways in which I have managed to try to, keep relationships going even while spending a lot of my time working at my startup. Prioritizing is a really important one. Also, creating new communication channels and mechanisms for keeping up to date with people. I'll talk about the second one first. A few years ago, actually, I started doing something called a monthly friend update. I've talked about it before, and the monthly friend update it's an email that I send out to all of my friends. It's a close group of friends, and I give them an update on what's going on in my life, what happened in the last month, the things that I think they should know about. It's quite short. It's only usually 3 or 4 bullet points. You can read it in about 60 seconds. Sometimes I ask a question at the end, and I encourage people to respond. And I also love at the end, all the way at the bottom, in tiny font, I give kudos to people who have helped me out in the last month or who have done something amazing that I want to celebrate. Because people like seeing their names in something like this. And I like, for myself, to look back at what happened in the last month so I can remember. And I've thrown all these in a Google Doc now, and so I have the friend updates for every month for the last 2 years. It's really, really cool. And this way, when I meet someone who I really get along with, even if I know, man, we don't have the time to hang out. We're so busy. You're running a company, or you're doing this thing, and I'm doing this thing. The next time we might not meet up for another 6 months. Well, I'll add them to my friend update, and what that does is it allows this connection to get formed slowly over time, because that's all relationships really are, is just communication a little bit here and there, keep each other up to date on each other's lives, and staying top of mind. And so when people come to New York City, because they've been reading my friend update for the last few months, they'll remember to reach out, or maybe they'll respond to one of the friend updates and tell me, hey, I'm going to be in New York City, let's grab a drink. And so at this point, the size of that update has actually grown to about 250 people. But I keep eliminating people off the list as, people stay in and out of touch. And one thing I like to do is post something really personal in the friend update, and then go through the list and think, is this person someone I would want to send this personal note to? And if not, maybe they don't belong on the friend update list. Maybe they're just an acquaintance and it didn't really get further, even if I wanted it to. The second thing is really just ruthless prioritization. Initially I used to try to take every coffee meeting with anyone that reached out to me asking for advice, because I wanted to give back, and I remembered when I would ask people for advice, and I would be so grateful when people did that for me. And as my time got more and more limited, I couldn't do that. And unfortunately, I'm at the point where even with some of my best friends now, I can't take dinner or do drinks all the time. So I get good at coming up with rules of thumb. I set aside one entire day every week for meetings with people externally, coffees and things like that. That's Wednesdays. And initially I used to take any meeting, I just put it on a Wednesday. And if that Wednesday got full, I would say, what about next Wednesday? That way I still had Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays available for some of the creative work and thinking, and my week didn't just get full of everything. But as those started to fill up more and more, I started thinking about how I could say no to certain people by prioritizing, which meetings I would take and which ones I wouldn't take. Learning how to say no is a really important skill, and if you are interested in that, check out the Founder Friday video on how to say no. It's really useful, and saying no to someone, even if they're a close friend, is okay and it's acceptable. And I've found that a lot of people understand. And you can say, I'd love to reach out and catch up with you, and I really appreciate that you reached out, but right now I'm just heads down, and I'd love if we can maybe touch base in a few weeks again, see how things are going then. So yeah, that's a really good one. Another one that I've found that just works wonders is proactively reach out to people, even if you don't necessarily have the time to spend a lot of time with them, and just say, hey, I want you to know things are crazy right now at my startup at work, but I'm thinking about you, and I'm going to be heads down for the next few weeks, and I may not be as communicative, or I may not be around as much as I would like, but I was thinking about you, and I just wanted to let you know that, and I hope you understand. And people will definitely understand that. Being proactive can go wonders. So those are my 2, maybe 3 tips for how to maintain healthy relationships while working your ass off at a startup. Thank you, Philip, for submitting that. And if you have any other questions, anyone out there, post your tips below and shoot any questions to founderfriday@onemonth.com. Thank you guys, and that's it for this week.